Good evening. This is Stedman Fry, along with my co-host Amanda Goodman-Berry and Flex McGee, with Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, your newest resource for news, updates, and information on the State of the Union drive and how you can get involved. We'll bring you interviews and stories from workers just like you and us who want to share happenings as they see them. We'll also be debunking the falsehoods and misconceptions about the union and giving you the tools to do the same. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post or go live. Thank you.
Hey.
Hello.
We back.
So, let's see, let me get my hat. This is episode 13 of Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, with your three hosts and co-hosts. I'm Stedman Fry here, and I'll pass it to Amanda to introduce herself.
I'm Amanda Goodman-Berry, Minneapolis Ramp. Today, I feel like the working class is a pretty day in Minnesota, and believe me, this is true dedication today. I'll pass it over to Flex McGee.
Hey, what's good, everybody? The Working Class Podcast, Delta Workers Unite, Flex McGee. I'm one of your co-hosts here, ATL in this joint. I'm ready to go, man. I'm excited to be here as always. Let's get to it.
Woo-hoo.
And Stedman Fry, Detroit Ramp. And yeah, I think that time change, I feel it. This is the Working Class Podcast for real, because I was kind of dragging all day. I was driving home and kind of feeling a little bit out of it. But enough of that. Nobody wants to hear about that. So today's episode is knocking on the door of an election. How do we get there? And we kind of wanted to do just something a bit informal, kind of a state of the drive, a state of the union, right? So to speak, drive, and kind of discuss where we are, how things are going as best as we can with the information we have. So I'll pass it to either Flex or Amanda to kind of take point on this.
I can start it off. I think today was important because most of the time we jump on and we're targeting this subject, but it's very rare that we can sit down and have an actual conversation like working class people that we are. Those conversations like when we call one another and we're just talking. So I think it's important for the workers to know that we too we have general conversations to talk about the need and where we're at. And the reason why we decided to name it Knocking Right at the Door, we are right at the door, and all we got to do right now is just open the door. And we want to just appeal to the workers to let them know that, this is not an easy task, but it's a necessary task. And when you get this close, You know, you feel like you're on the edge because we're right there. I mean, we're really right there. And we just want to explain that being right there and not opening that door would be the most crucial and hurtful thing in the world, because we got this here. We just got to get more, we just got to get more people to want to get involved, get more people to just sign your cards and send them back in. But we're literally walking through the door of unionizing Delta Airlines. And I'll let Flex take it from here and talk too, because he's talking from the ATL as well.
Once again, ATL in this joint. So I just wanted to kind of say, one of our biggest issues in Atlanta is just people keeping it alive, like people understanding, and not to contradict what Amanda said, like the door is really open. It's time for us to walk through it. It's not even like it's a closed door. That's how close we are. Like, it's just walking through the door. So, I know just this week recently, I talked to a young man who, I won't say his name, but I was talking to a young man who was just like, hey man, I know you guys been at this forever. I'm kind of tired. And, I don't know if we can ever make it or we can ever cross over. And like, I had to kind of bring him to reality. Like, and I definitely understand his frustration, but the reality of this is we literally are right there. So I don't make promises.
Yeah.
So I don't want to promise that once you sign this card, it's going to happen. What I'm telling you is, don't let your card be the reason why it doesn't happen. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you. So, and that's just where we are. Like, I understand, like, people are frustrated. People are tired. Listen, I'm frustrated and I'm tired too. I don't want to have to keep asking you to sign a card. And I'm not going to tell you I'm never going to have to ask you to sign a card again, because we might not get enough of us to kick the door down. But I believe we can, and we will. And that's why I continue to ask. I continue to ask people to to continue to sign this card, and your card is expired, or make sure you re-up for this year. And it's really our strategy that we're trying to refine. Like, I remember last year, as we were trying to file in October, I was chasing people's cards who had expired that have been forever supporters. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that I was chasing people's cards in September whose cards probably should have been signed in February. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying to change that process. But anybody that wants to be a part of the process and understanding what's going on or has an idea, we are receptive to all of that, especially here in Atlanta, man. Atlanta is a union drive by itself. Like, let's just be for real. Like, we got enough people to, form a union. Like, if we could, like, we got enough people to chase down here by ourselves, let alone everybody across the system. So it's definitely been difficult. It's definitely been frustrating, but it's definitely doable. Guess that's what I want to say.
Yeah. And if I can, real quick, before you speak, Stedman, and I've gone and visited Atlanta. Atlanta people really are motivated and really do want it. But sometimes, just like Minneapolis, like anywhere, sometimes we just, the chase, and I don't mean like we're chasing people, but we're chasing one card to fall off, another card to come back. So it becomes a chase, because you got to get these cards. Because if we could vote tomorrow, we would win that union. We would win the union, the IAM, it would be done. It would be over with. We would be headed to an election. So what we really just wanted to say today is just having in this conversation is that we need you to sign your cards. If it come in the mail, you don't have to give them to us. You don't have to find us and track us down. Drop it back off in the mail and just let it ride, because we need every card. As Flex said, you could be that one card, that 50 plus one, that one card that we need to file an election. And I think this is why we just wanted to say we're knocking at the door, and we really are. But I think we can kick the door down because we're so close to the door. I mean, my hand is on the knob. Our hands is on the knob. It's just about turning the knob and opening that door up. Stedman, I'll give it to you.
So one of the things that I like to do, with podcasts and stuff, just to kind of show the consistency of our shows and the growth that we have and that kind of thing, is I like to talk about old shows, because that shows kind of like where our thought processes are. And so I've been able to break down some of the shorts and working through clips of past episodes. So hopefully, even though the show is very short as it is, we try to keep it, really between 30 and 45 minutes. But, some of our shows with guests or whatever are up to an hour. So that still may be a lot for people. And so breaking down clips and shorts helps us to give you the direct, key points, some of the best pieces that we think will be interesting for you to hear and see, some of the most informative pieces. And so when you think about episode 9 with Richie Johnson, the general vice president of the IAM, District 141 or the Air Transport Division, he gave a lot of great information. Those are some of the first 3 shorts that I released that we have on the channel. And he talks about some of the difficulties. We asked about some of the difficulties that we face trying to unionize at Delta versus some of the other places. And then the last episode we did, which was 12, we had the interview with Mark Aguilar, who Unify employee when they unionized in San Jose. And so some of those differences you got to hear and see because they were able to unionize that one station with 60 people in San Jose, right? So they didn't have to do the whole Unify corporation and every station in the Unify system, right? And even Mark said, just with his 60 or so people, there were times in that process that he felt burnt out, that he didn't think it would happen, and that he didn't know how he would get through. Now, Richie was talking about how some of the differences between some of the other drives, they get to have electronic cards and some of those other things. So what we need to kind of keep focus on is just that, when we are in this process, it can burn you out just because you're trying so hard. We all want this to get done. But we need to understand that we are really, it's an uphill battle. And that does not mean that we can't overcome this obstacle, right? Because we're all trying with the intention of getting this done. But we need to keep that in perspective, that, laws and things have been changed or they're constructed in a way to make this difficult because corporations, specifically the one we work for, does not want us to have a union, right? They have prided themselves on being, at this point, the lone holdout of major airlines to not have a union for its frontline employees. And so we need to keep that in mind. So I recommend rewatch those episodes, go look at those shorts. And as I'm able to, and, as we're able to release clips and shorts of some of this other information, we need to understand there is a desire in this country and in this industry and in this company for unions, right? You see that even at Unify. How do we look as a company that one of our contract carriers is unionized or is in the process of unionizing, and we still haven't found that, urge or desire, or we haven't found our limit where we say enough is enough and we want what's better for us too, right? And so we need to look at it from that perspective. I'll stop if anybody else wants to interject, but I had just some interactions this past week on the job, and it let me know that there are people watching this show, right? There are people watching this show, and so I think, it's important to understand that as much as this is a resource for employees, this is an opportunity for management to see our strategy, right? They know what we're talking about. They can see what we're trying to do. You might look and say, hey, well, there's only 100 and such people watching it. But, managers are watching our show too. And so they're investing energy and effort into trying to combat what we talk about, or trying to present themselves in a way that makes our demands seem irrational, right? You don't need this. You can come talk to us. We can give you the day off. We can help you do X, Y, Z. You don't need a union. And so we need to understand that without pressure, even if we go back to the Dr. King episode, which I believe was episode 6 on Dr. King Day, when Dr. King talked about in his speech, all work has dignity. Walter Reuther saying that a union makes a big company like General Motors say yes when they want to say no. We need to understand that without constant pressure, the company we work for would not be willing to say maybe without the threat of a union, right? The threat of a union is what is giving us even the small semblance of, I won't say justice, but
motion.
Right, motion at work.
Motion. Yeah, it's motion. And to jump in with you, brother, I apologize, but to just jump in to kind of continue on what you're saying. Like nowadays, young people always talk about motion. I got motion, right? As an individual, you have motion. Collectively, we really have motion, though, and that's where I'm thinking I'm going to complete what you said, Fry. That's what ultimately that's what it is we're looking for. You put that pressure on the company, and that motion becomes like real. And that's what it is that we're looking to do when we come in here, we have these discussions and we put our side of the fight on like the front line. Like people can't say they don't know about this. And I had no clue that we were unionizing, because the motion that we've created collectively as the people who have organized and are organizing currently, this is what motion is. Motion is us making movements and making waves. And our waves are hitting shores all across the country. And I'm proud to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really goes back to the old saying, nothing worth having, if you want it, you're going to have to work for it. Because if it came easy, then I would be questioning what's really going on. And the fact that a handful of people have been able to keep the company on their toes speak volume. Now, you imagine if we could get 100 more, 200 more people to put that kind of pressure on the company, we would be at a vote right now. So we're working hard. You see us, like I say this all the time, you may see us 3 on here, but there's a team of people that is working to try to help us organize. I mean, there's workers to workers. There's the International Machinists. There's people giving up their time. We're not getting paid to do what we're doing. We're here because we want to be here. We're here because we know that Delta workers deserve the best. We work for the best airlines in the world. So why don't you want the best? Hold Delta accountable. And the only way that can happen is we have to fight to win this union. We got to open that door. And I'm going to keep going back to the title. We have to not just open it, but we got to bust that sucker wide open. And how do we do that? We sign these cards and we get to an election. And I'll give it back to one of you guys, but I get really passionate about this because we've never been this close. We've never been this close to the point that we can see it. It's just a matter of you believing it and us believing it. We all got to believe together in order for this to happen. And I think if we put all these big minds together and put all these big hearts together, I think we will pull it off. We can pull this off and become unionized. And well, Mr. Mand, are you sure things gonna be better? I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you it'll be better than what you have now. You will have better wages. You will have protection, good security. You would have a contract. We would have the things that right now we don't have. We don't have stability. We are at will employees. The company tomorrow can call you in and say, hey, we need to talk to you. And if you're not ready for those conversations, you might say the wrong thing. But if you got a union rep standing beside you, that is volume. That changes that open door, 1-on-1, 3-on-1. It's rare they're going to have 1-on-1. It's going to be 3-on-1, 2-on-1. And we want to change that so that you can have that security net. And the only way to do that is to vote this union in so that we can help each other. This is about each other, not a one-way street. And I'll let you go, Seb. It seemed like you had something to say on that.
Well, both of you, you really hit points that Flex finished my point perfectly, and what you just said really kind of inspired me more, fired me up to kind of keep at this, right? Because it's true that you have to want more and you have to do more and you have to push and you have to hold each other accountable and you have to hold the company accountable. And so, I'm just thinking about just in normal human interaction, right? When if something is going wrong, you don't get involved. If you have somebody doing something that, let's say, you don't like, and they're doing something wrong, and it doesn't affect you in any way, and you know it's going to fail, you don't jump in, you don't get involved, right? But if something is going to happen right, and it will affect you in some kind of way, and you can avoid that enemy, for example, you would get involved. And so I'm saying all that to say the company doesn't spend the resources and energy and time trying to undermine what we are doing and saying if they don't believe that what we're doing and saying has a negative impact on their bottom line via, we talk about this a lot, but the cost of labor, and that it will have a positive benefit on us, right? We have to, like you hear all this stuff, and our second episode was the revolving door, right? So you talked about 3-on-1 and 2-on-1 and hearing all these empty and broken promises, right? Even the whole, like surveys and feedback and stuff. Why should I have to go through these hoops if I'm giving feedback and my feedback is being heard because I have an open door policy? Why do I need to go through all these extra steps in order to be heard in the workplace, right? I should be able to talk to the first person and somebody who makes decisions. That's air quotes in case you couldn't see. Somebody who makes decisions to be able to make the moves necessary to improve the conditions. But every day you see a continual process of papering over something that's not working right, or, as they say, a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And we are always picking up the slack. We talked about that. I think that was episode 6 again, where we talked about, Delta workers stepping up big in bad weather, right? So we find ourselves always picking up the slack, right? And we do it because we love our jobs, right? We don't do this because we would rather be doing something else. And, we are being held hostage. We do this because we want the best for ourselves, the company, the passengers, right? We want this company, like they have been talking about, because it's a 100-year anniversary. We want another 100 years of prosperity and growth and profitability. But we want a fair share. We want a seat at the table. We want a place in the decision making. We don't want lip service or the revolving door of broken and empty promises. We really want to be able to have a say. You can go, Flex.
I'm with you 100%, brother. Like, what I want to ask people that are watching, first of all, is to please, if you dig this podcast and you dig our content, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you got the notifications cut the bell on your phones so that you can keep up with us. Like make sure that we spreading our messages to people. And secondly, which is really most importantly, is like, for all of the money that this company makes, and talking about how much they are of the actual whole entire industry, how much money they'll make compared to the entire industry, we shouldn't have people who don't have places to live. We shouldn't have people who can't eat this week, or we that can't buy lunch or can't provide lunch for themselves. Like, there are a lot of stories in the trenches of what's going on in this that are unheard. And I want to make sure that I can speak for those people who are in those situations. We all know people who have slept in cars or who can't afford, proper housing in the cities they're in, be it because of the city that they live in, or because of how low the dollar per hour is, how long it takes to top out. I remember, I believe it was Connor spoke on a video a while back about how having a livable wage, you know what I'm saying? I believe we did a video about having a little livable wage in the city that you live in. Like, all of this stuff matters. And I don't want those people, if you ever come across this video, I don't want you to think that because I'm at the top of the pay scale and I live in Atlanta, which is a lower cost city, which is currently rising though. But I don't want you to ever think that I don't have empathy for you, those of you who are in these other cities and that you work in 2 and 3 jobs and like, they're taking hours, they're cutting lines, they're cutting full-time lines. So not only do you not make enough per hour, but you're not even making the money, like, you're not even getting the hours to provide for a family, for a company that's doing so great. Like, if we're doing that great, let's make sure our people are doing that great. And if this is truly an open door policy, you've heard this before. I know I don't have to tell you about that. I know you've heard that there are people struggling to make their day-to-day and their daily routines and their this is where we are now. You know what I'm saying? People sometimes they say, well, yo, hey, I got 2.5 years, but I got Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. I'll pick up hours throughout the week, which I get. I get it. I get you picking up your hours. You got your days off you want, but you're picking up every Saturday. You're picking up every other Monday, so you really don't have those days off. And you're also working more for less because of the work rules. There's straight time. Everything becomes straight time. You're not making overtime on your days off. These are the things that we're out here trying to correct. We're trying to make a life better for not just myself, but for every person that's it, like listening to this or that's involved in this. Like, we want more and better for the people, the everyday person, the working class. That's who we do this for. I don't come on here every Monday because I feel like I'm going to be somebody from this, because I'm not. I am already somebody. You know what I'm saying? I come on here because I really understand what you guys are telling me day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. I hear you. And that's why I continue to ask people to sign union cards, and that's why I continue to push this movement the way I do, because I understand my boots are currently on the ground, and I hear people, and that's why we do this every day.
You know, Flex, you took the words right out of it's like you were thinking outside of my head, because I talk to young folks all the time, and we got a lot of more younger people than we do older people at the job. And when I hear these young people say, Miss Amanda, what if this happened and what if that happened? I can't even barely fill up my car with gas. I can barely even do that. But we're working for the world greatest airlines in the world. And in the world greatest airline, our CEOs is eating. Our VPs, they're eating. Our senior VPs, they're eating. But we got our baggage handlers, our flight attendants, the working class is barely eating. So do that make sense to, and I'm talking to the company at this point, do that make sense to you? Because I know you're listening. Do that make sense to you that the working class people is barely eating? The working class people is barely driving to work, but they still show up, even though you don't want to pay the working class. You don't want to give us good equipment. We take a risk every day of our lives. And it hurt me so much when I'm talking to our younger people and they say, Miss Amanda, will we ever win it? I can't say yes, but what I can say is this to you, if you're listening, if you go back and listen to this video, we can win it with you. We can win it if you sign those cards. This is our time to shine. And if you want to win, and if you want to stop struggling from paycheck to paycheck, 2, 3, 4 jobs, sign that union card and get on board. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you will never know until you give it a try. You give Delta a try every day. Just sign the card and let's get to an election. And let's see what it looks like. Let's see what it feels like. But I guarantee you, you won't be disappointed, because we're here to help each other. We're not just here for ourselves. I'll give it back to you, too.
Hey, that's big respect, Amanda. Hey, you know, it's so, hey, yeah, I don't even want to talk over the applause, because she really spoke everything that we've been preaching for so long. Like, this is not about 1 or 2 people. This is really about us collectively being better. Like, the one of the biggest things that I'm going to be honest with you that frustrates me at the job when I'm talking to our coworkers is people who just say, yeah, I know it's messed up, but I'm going to Dubai next week. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that singular moment of gratification that you forget about everything else that you told me before your Dubai trip. And I'm glad you're able to go to Dubai. Like, trust me, I've touched places that like the majority of people that I grew up will never see in life, and they live through me as well as I'm living through them. And so I get it. We can do a lot with this company, but we also shouldn't be like struggling to pay bills. Like, I don't believe in that, man. We shouldn't be in a situation where people are, and I'm not going, you know what, to make sure that I'm gonna let you go, Fry. I want to make sure that you fully understand me. We got some spending habits that might not be correct, and I'm okay with that. I get it. But we also are in a situation where healthcare is too much, and not having sick time, not having OJI time, all of these things, are not having 40-hour weeks, our work rules that suck. We have the worst work rules in the industry. That's my opinion, but I'm going to stand on it because you can't make money when the work rules are against you. And that is what we are fighting against. That's what I stand here in front of you right now, fighting against the fact that if you are making $80,000, you probably will be making $100,000 unionized. And that is the issue for me because I am at the top of the pay scale and I understand what that is. And I also understand the bottom of the pay scale who is not making anything and you're making $32,000 a year when you should probably be making $47,000. All of us deserve more and they can't say that they can't afford to pay us more. That is ridiculous. We should not ever be out of the top 2 in pay because we are the number 1 people making the money. People can jump us because they have contracts. We should never be outside of the top 2. Anytime somebody makes us number 3, they should instantly be giving us a raise. We should know when our next raise is coming because that's ridiculous. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel. And that's why I fight for this. And that's why I will continue to fight for this until we bring it home.
That's right. Let me say this statement before you go. And to show you that we're not just here because we have to be. I was on 5 weeks of vacation. And I could have easily said, you know what? I'm not doing this Monday. This means so much to me. I had told my co-host, hey guys, for 2 of the Mondays, I'm not going to be on. But this drive means so much to me. I felt like I had to be here because we can't stop now. We can't stop talking to you. And what we're saying to you is we're giving you facts. We're not giving you maybes. We can't tell you that, yeah, we're going to win. But the fact is we can win if you are willing to help us. We need your help. We can't do this without you. It's impossible. Even with the team that we have, we got some great soldiers on the ground marching for you.
Fire.
Troops on the ground every single day, fighting for you, posting for you, giving you information. We can bring you to, as the old folks say, we can bring the hearts to the water, but we can't make you drink.
Can't make them drink.
Drink this time because this is real. Okay, I'll give it to you, Stagman.
So when I moved to DC in 2015, and I forget, it was a real small station, DCA. So like there was like maybe 1 or 2 people who worked in like the office, the admin, and I forget the lady's name, the main employee. She retired maybe like a little after I left. But when I went in to get my badging and stuff, she talked to me and she said, "Are you sure you want to move here?" And I said, "Yeah." "Why do you ask?" And she said, "Well, you know, there were people who worked here. One lady was trying to get to Salt Lake. She lived in her car for 6 months." And so, you know, that really stuck out to me. And, you know, I was topped out. So it was still the pay was different upstairs and downstairs. I worked upstairs. So the situation was different. But like what you're saying, there's no reason why that should be. You know, there's no reason why we should be working for the most profitable airline in the country, if not the world. And we're having people who can't afford to live in the cities that this company operates in. It's not like you're saying, hey, we live in New York. You know, we live in New York, but there's no airport in New York, or there's no airport in LA or San Francisco or San Jose or something. You know, you have people who have to work in these cities. You have airports in these cities, and the people that you employ can't afford to live there. They can't afford to live in stable homes. They're living in cars and other conditions, and they work for you. And you want these people to get up the next day and smile and help customers and be of sound mind and do their jobs properly. And this should be something that you think about. And I see you want to jump in, Flex. The last thing I wanted to say is I think the reason why this show is impactful is because we're telling the truth. Like what you said, Amanda, we are giving you facts. This is not lies. This isn't spin. This is irrefutable fact. We're telling you how it is on the ground, right? We're giving you, you know, our perspective when we tell you it's our perspective, but we're giving you irrefutable fact about how things are. Right? We give you data. we present you with paperwork. We compare contracts and pay, right? We're not just speaking off some hypothetical, right? We're telling you the truth. And so, even for the company, it is hard for them. What are you going to say? Everybody watching this, and the 3 employees that you have who are hardworking, high seniority, or too high and 1 mid seniority employee are lying all of a sudden, and what sense would that make? So then what do you have to do, right? What is the response? You either have to ignore us, we have to try to figure some way that you can try to take what we're saying and present it in such a way that it's not as bad as we say. And that's not good enough. Just we come to work every day in truth and honesty, right? And we expect the same treatment in truth and honesty. We want a fair fight for a vote. That's what we're asking for. How do we get to the door of an election? We need a fair and clean fight to get to that point without interference, without any kind of games and carrot and stick and all this BS that happens when you're trying to convince people for temporary gain so you can take them later. Give us the opportunity to have a legitimate vote where we have laid out the facts on our side, and you have presented whatever you consider to be your facts or your benefits on your side, and see where the chips fall. But I'll let you go, Flex.
Hey, I want to take a moment to kind of, first of all, Fry, you right. Everything that you said, like you, Amanda, y'all are spot on today. Yeah, man. I want to make sure I respect everything that you were saying before I get into that point. I would challenge every worker who hears this to take a step back in an everyday work environment and tell me if they absolutely feel safe and no pressure to do anything unsafe at work in any day. On any given day, is there a situation where, like in Atlanta, I know, just recently I spoke to one of the managers, one of our general managers. We had a situation where like people load up their carts to do Next Bank or BBR or whatever you want to call it, like the stuff we induct into the system because it's going out later. And I was trying to, they came up with a rule that says that you, safety wise, they was like, regardless of if the handles are facing you or all the handles are away from you, it's completely safe for an employee to grab 5 or 6 bags. First of all, I don't know if you guys know, in Atlanta, we have double-decker carts. So all of the stuff that you're trying to grab is kind of high. So you're reaching high and you don't have any handles to grab. And I was trying to explain to him that as you continuously do this high motion and trying to grab wheels or like stands, that it was unsafe to employees. Like this was a conversation that we had in real time. And I would challenge any Delta worker to ask themselves, have they ever pressured you to do something from their metrics that doesn't necessarily match their mantra of safety first? Like that, I would really challenge anybody to ask themselves, when you go outside and work a flight, do you have to cut corners to make things happen? Or when you outside running bags, or if you're in the bag room, I hurt my shoulder in the bag room. And pretty much what they told me is, we know this is an issue, but like hopefully not many of you guys are going to get hurt. I have a problem with the fact that safety first means don't tear up any of their planes and don't do nothing to damage the brand. And if you can, try not to get hurt. Like I've always had a problem with that like having that feeling as I've been non-union at Delta Airlines. That's a problem for me. So as I was talking to my GM about this, the one thing I will give him credit for, and I will respect, is that when I told him that it was okay for everything except for employee safety, he took a step. He heard me, first of all, because most people don't hear you when you say employee safety, because they've already made the decision to go forward with the metric part of it. And he said, give me an opportunity to go look back at this and see if there's any merit to what you're saying. He did come back to me recently, and he said he had some things that might be able to help us. But ultimately, having a union is what is the buffer in between protecting us and our safety and what it is that they're trying to make us do. Because on the real, what it was is what they were telling us here in Atlanta is if a manager tells you to pull over and you got to grab all handles and stands, you got to do it because the manager told you to do it. Like, that's where we are. Our open door policy led to that. And that's an issue. Yeah, I know. Like you said, it's wild. And I literally, in my own briefing, I apologize. I literally, in my own briefing, had to have a situation with my own OSMs to tell that all my OSMs are telling me every bag that we touch has a handle on both sides, like on the bottom of the wheels. I'm talking to people who don't come outside and do my job, who have no clue what I have to do every day. That's who I'm telling. They're telling me what I have to do every day. And as the disdain and the disgruntledness came up, that's the only thing that pushed it. Was everybody was saying, no, that's not really true. And the reality of this is the Delta Airlines will come up with stuff from an office that has nothing to do with, from people who never do our job anymore. I'm not saying they haven't, they never do our job anymore. They come through with this stuff to try to like make things more quicker and convenient and to help metrics, but they have no regard for our safety.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get hurt, they're gonna tell you what could you have done different. Like, that's the problem. That is what we
say that again, because that's what I was about to say.
That's the problem. What can you do different is the problem. The problem is we know this stuff doesn't work. And the problem is our company doesn't listen to us when it comes to personal employee safety. That's an issue. And there's nobody you can go to for that. This is why we push for the union so hard. Nobody's going to come in here and say, oh, the employees, they're going to say, how can we get people in and out of here faster? That's a problem. Like, one of my biggest concerns and issues is stuff like this. And I do give credit to the GM that I was speaking with, but he didn't listen to me until I said that y'all don't care about employee safety. That's the problem. Employee safety is not an issue because you're replaceable. And the reality of this is all of us are not replaceable in our homes.
That's
right. We come here for a reason.
That's right.
And that's an issue.
That's right. That's right.
You're not replaceable to your kids. You're not replaceable to your wife. When you go home on 60% of your pay, the other 40% is not replaceable. These are what the things that we consider important. This is what we are fighting for. This is why we get on this podcast every Monday and come out and talk to people. This is one of the main reasons why we do what we do. You are not replaceable in your home. If something happens to you, Delta Airlines goes on. But your household, your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever, your mom who said that you help across the country, you're not replaceable. So now is the time for us to stand up and make sure people understand that the value of what we do every day is not replaceable.
Give him a clap on that statement. Flex McGee, you said that. You said that.
Thank you, sisters. Thank you.
And I don't think there's nothing more.
Don't let these people make it seem like that what you do isn't important, not just to them, but to what you do.
Yes. Yes.
Your life is important, man. And yes. I just want to say one last thing. You ain't have to cut the applause. I appreciate it. I appreciate the applause.
Hey.
When you get up in the morning or in the afternoon, when you come out here, whatever your reason is for getting out here and doing what you do, for putting up with the heartache, the stress, the headache, whatever it is, that is the reason why I am here today telling you, let's protect ourselves. Whatever your reason is, I want you to know it's mine too. And I mean that because I want people to be able to come out here and make sure that their family is straight. Because I want to be able to make sure their minds is straight without killing myself. And that's really all I got to say today.
I second the motion then. I don't think there's nothing else can come behind that because you said it all. And I mean, and if the workers don't truly understand what we're saying today, I don't know what else we can say because we are really here for you. We're here for ourselves. We're here for you. And when Flex said family, that meant everything to me because Delta will not be able to explain to not one of my children if I hurt myself or I die on that job by cutting a corner to make one bag, because it is possible and it can happen. Not saying I want it to happen, but it can happen. Someone is going to have to call my children and tell them what happened to me, or they won't be able to tell them what happened to their mom. So we need to be able to get a union on this in here. We need a shop committee, a safety committee. We need another voice to speak for us, to help us to make decisions for us so that we can have a safe and good job. All of us love our job. We work with some great people who want it to be better. It can be better. So let's make it better. Let's knock down that door and walk in it. Stedman, take us out of here, please.
All right. Well, so thanks for tuning in with us. If you have questions that were not answered or maybe a specific topic you'd like to have addressed, leave us a comment or an email and we will get back to you. Also, all available links to information and materials are posted in the description. Remember, this podcast is powered by working people just like you in solidarity. Peace.
Peace.
Like, comment, subscribe, share. Get involved.
Union strong.
Union strong.
Union strong.